So this is the second part of my vlog about my dad eating Chinese food defiantly in front of us, even though we know it'll kill him and he knows it'll kill him, but trying to be a big man in front of people. So we'd come back from voting, I hugged my wife, we both went in there, we sat down and we asked him if he wanted to talk about what had gone on the night before. Now he'd had a night to think about it, he'd talked for 2 hours with my mum, he has a brain of his own and is a social guy. He's not a socially retarded in any way. But the first thing he did was try to justify things. The first thing he said was, I just ate the steamed chicken and the steamed fish and I had the tofu. I didn't know it had salt in it. Now, the steamed fish and the steamed chicken are the things that he'd had after we left, after, we'd, I guess, caused a scene and he was embarrassed. So that doesn't count. And the tofu, he was eating it to defy the rules that I'd set upon him, which are not rules that I've set upon him. It's rules that his medical team have outlined and I have to carry out as his carer. So he started justifying that stuff. And then I said, well, what about the other thing? He's like, oh, yeah, and that too. And he kept saying he didn't know they had salt in them and they only ate the steamed fish, which is just bullshit. What I was expecting was an apology for his shithouse behavior. So I told him that I've lost trust in him. This week had a crack at me saying that I never trust him when he goes out with his friends and stuff. And yet he does that in front of me. Like, if you're going to do the wrong thing, at least be sneaky about it. Like, he's forced my hand and I now have to react, because if I let him get away with this, then he is going to keep pushing until he kills himself. Let's not forget that all of this is just because he will die if he doesn't follow these rules. So after a long conversation, I told him that I'd made some rules that if he wanted to live under my care, he had to agree to. And this has always been my thought process, that I think I'm the best person to care for my dad. I know him the best. It's my responsibility, kind of as his son, and I'm the person in the world that loves him the most. Now, if there was ever came a time that I wasn't the best person to care for my dad, then as long as I've done all I can, I would have to put him into a hospice or a hospital or a nursing home and that. But I didn't want to do that unless there was no other choice, because I was no longer the best person to be caring for my dad. So these were the rules. No more disrespectful talk about Kirsty and I, including defending us to your friends. So that has made Kirsty and I into villains because he needs someone to shit on, for want of a better word, all the bad things that are happening in his life. And he dumps all that onto me, which I kind of knew he would because I've known him for 33 years and this is how he deals with stuff. But he started doing it with Kirsty and he talks in front of us disrespectfully. Whenever I ask him to do something, he goes, yes, sir, if his friends are about to be a big man. It's all about being a big man to Dad. And I said, I can't stop you from doing it in front of your friends, but know that it really hurts me and my wife, who doesn't fucking deserve it. And I said that not only do you now have to stop talking disrespectfully for us, but when your friends do it, because they do it all the time too, you have to stick up for us. All right, that was rule number one. Also, no Chinese restaurants. He's completely blown that out the water by doing the wrong thing in front of me. I can't trust him to not do the right thing if I'm not there. And I can't trust his friends to stop him doing the right thing because he had a gold cup. I couldn't stop him. Kirsty couldn't stop him. My mum couldn't stop him. These are 3 people he should at least listen to if he was going to listen to anyone. So no one can stop him doing it. And I don't want to put his friends in that position either. Also, no outside food. People shop for him all the time and I'm sick of taking food off people. They come in with a bag of shit and go, oh, I picked this from my garden. This is a green, slimy vegetable. It's very, very, very good, very therapeutic. Like, what's it called? Because I need to check it for things like potassium, right? He's like, no, it's very healthy. Yeah, but potassium is healthy for normal people. But so many things in my dad's life are now toxic to him because the rules are changed. So I said, no more food from outside people. I don't care if it's food that we know you can eat. It's just easier. No more food from Dad's old house. He often goes there to pick things up and always comes back with food that is terrible for him. Just stuff in the pantry that he's like, oh, this is going to go off. And he just leaves it in my place, I guess hoping to eat it, right? For example, the last couple of times he's gone, this has come back. All of that. And this is all food that he knows he can't eat. This tom yum paste. If you look on the nutrition information, he's allowed 120 milligrams of sodium. This has 6,390 milligrams. What is that, like 50 times what he's supposed to have? When he goes to people's houses for meals, we now need to know the menu, what's in those things. You can't just be like, you've got to tell us what you're putting in there, down to the brands of things, because every brand has a different amount of salt and stuff. And I know these are all harsh, but he's completely obliterated the trust. And if I need to care for him, these have to be the rules to let me do my job. And the last one was always going to be the most difficult. I told Dad that I'm going to write up contracts. And if he's going to go out with his friends, they have to sign this contract stating these rules. And if they couldn't follow them and I caught them, they were no longer allowed to see my dad. I'm sick of people going behind my back doing stuff, my dad forcing his friends into positions where they can't say no to him. And even if they don't need pushing, they're enabling him to kill himself. And I can't let that happen because it falls to me to care for him when he doesn't need to be that sick. So I told Dad that these are the rules. If he wants to stay in this house with me caring for him, which I believe is the best thing for him, these are the things that need to happen to allow me to do my job. And if he couldn't do that, I was not the best person to look after him anymore, and this was not a place that he could stay. And my dad, after 70 years of stubbornness and having things his own way, said he wanted to go somewhere else. So after me putting everything on hold from September last year, where I was working in television in Melbourne, to come back and look after my dad, he's chosen food over the relationship he has with his son. And on Monday, we're going to look for a place for him, either a nursing home or a hospice. That's where he's going to be until he dies. Because he'd rather do that than admit that he's being a stubborn asshole.